Tonight, Donald Trump muses about winding down the war in the Middle East as more American troops reportedly head to the region.
Well, I may have a plan or I may not.
The mixed messages about what comes next as attacks escalate and oil prices surge.
I'm not thrilled, let's put it that way.
And Iran's new threats to target tourists around the world. CBC News inside Cuba. Blackouts, fuel shortages, a scramble for basic necessities.
People get only 2 hours of electricity a day.
How the U.S. oil blockade is being felt on the ground. Ontario cracks down on ticket scalpers.
No more price gouging, everybody gets access.
But will a cap on resale prices really work?
From CBC News, this is The National with Erica Johnson.
Thank you for joining us. As the war in the Middle East drags into week 4, Donald Trump says the U.S. is considering ending it, posting online that they're close to meeting their objectives. Not the first time he's made that claim. But on the ground, the war itself is still very clearly raging. Airstrikes continue across the region, and Iran is making new threats against civilian targets, saying it will hunt down its enemies in parks and tourist sites around the world. That threat comes as part of a missile struck Jerusalem's Old City, steps from holy sites frequented by tourists. Katie Simpson in Doha, Qatar tonight, and she begins our coverage.
The warnings to seek shelter sounded through Jerusalem's Old City moments before impact. Surveillance video without sound is just as remarkable. Debris and destruction near some of the world's holiest sites. Over the course of the day, Iran fired multiple missiles directly at Israel as it made new global threats. A senior Iranian military spokesman says Iran will pursue its enemies, American and Israeli officials, even in civilian locations, ready to target tourist destinations, parks, and recreation sites worldwide. Supporters of the Iranian regime gathered in Tehran at a funeral for the intelligence minister, killed earlier this week by an Israeli airstrike. We have come to say that no matter how much you kill us, we become more awake, more alert, says this man. Yet another senior Iranian leader killed in this war, as speculation mounts about the condition of the new supreme leader. Iranian state TV read a letter, purportedly written by him to mark the Persian New Year. He still hasn't been seen or heard publicly since he replaced his father nearly 2 weeks ago.
A lot of people are saying that he's badly disfigured, been hurt very badly. Other people are saying he's dead.
The U.S. and Israel continue to hammer Iran, they say targeting military sites. Iran striking back at Gulf neighbors, making a diplomatic solution less likely, says this analyst.
If the Iranians keep attacking the Gulf, then the Gulf is forced to stay in its current posture, which is defensive and not fully involved in the diplomatic track.
Meanwhile, in Lebanon, the displaced take up shelter where they can. The UN says more than 1 million people are now forced from their homes because of the fighting between Israel and Hezbollah. All of it overshadowing what would normally be a time of celebration. This Eid is certainly different, says this mom, as she remembers giving her kids new clothes and spending the holiday at an amusement park or with family. There was a huge difference, she says, between being at home and being in a tent or bus. Defense systems across the Gulf region continue to be tested by Iranian drones and missiles. But here in Doha, it's now been more than 24 hours since the last alert was sent out warning of an imminent threat.
So, Katie, that is quite a change.
Yeah, since we arrived here, we have been getting multiple alerts daily. It happens so frequently that some of the people we spoke with say that they've gotten used to it at this point.
Okay, thanks for this. Katie Simpson in Doha. NATO says it has pulled all of its military trainers out of Iraq, moving them to Europe for safety as Iran continues to target the country. And that includes Canadians. In a statement to CBC News, Canada's Defence Minister said the Canadian Armed Forces personnel and Canadian civilians deployed with the NATO mission Iraq have been relocated to a secure location and are safe and accounted for, adding, "We call on all states to respect international law." Even as Donald Trump muses about ending the war, the U.S. is also reportedly sending more military members into the region. Paul Hunter with the conflicting messages coming from Washington and the Trump administration's big move on Iranian oil tonight.
Hi, station, this is Warship 45 on 16, over.
Now reportedly bound for the Persian Gulf, more U.S. warships and about 2,500 more Marines. The next wave of U.S. forces in the war on Iran.
Yes, red right return doesn't apply to the U.S. Navy.
Deepening the view by so many that the U.S. is readying for a ground invasion on the Iranian mainland or, as some have wondered, on Iran's tiny Karg island off the south coast, critical to the Iranian oil industry. What are Donald Trump's plans on that?
I may have a plan or I may not, but how would I ever say that to a reporter? It's certainly a place that people are talking about, but I can't say yeah.
This as the U.S. president continues to insist the war is militarily won, or as he now puts it on social media, we're getting very close to meeting our objectives as we consider winding down our great military efforts in the Middle East. Though the challenge that is the Strait of Hormuz persists. Still effectively closed to international shipping by retaliatory Iranian strikes. It's gutted the global oil industry and frustrated Donald Trump. In another new post on social media, Trump slammed NATO for not agreeing to help reopen the strait. Cowards, he wrote. We will remember. But meanwhile, the UK has now authorized the U.S. military to use 2 of its military bases for strikes on Iranian missile launchers that target the strait. Permission Trump had wanted for some time.
I was a little surprised at the UK, to be honest with you. They should have acted a lot faster.
Trump also weighed in on the call for a ceasefire in Iran. We don't want a ceasefire, he said. You don't need one, in his words, Erica, when you're literally obliterating the other side.
And tonight, Paul, as oil prices spike, there's a plan to unsanction some Iranian oil?
Yeah, an indicator the U.S. is supremely interested in reducing the price of oil. It's a complete about-face after years of such U.S. sanctions against Iran. This unsanctioning applies only to Iranian oil already at sea, but that's still about 140 million barrels worth. The U.S. says it's meant to bring down prices for consumers by putting more oil on the market broadly, while at the same time, says the U.S., hurt Iran, which has made money off of higher oil prices. But the bottom line for now, the U.S. is in effect helping Iran sell its oil even as the U.S. assault on that country continues. Erica.
All right, Paul Hunter in Washington. And that high price of oil is causing a lot of pain at the gas pumps here in Canada. As Peter Cowan tells us, those who drive for a living are seeing the war's impact on their bottom line.
Tony Power will burn a lot of gas getting from Newfoundland to Texas.
I'm fairly light, so hopefully I'll get good fuel mileage and keep my costs down.
Overnight, the price of diesel jumped almost 5 cents. Since January, it's up about 70 cents. On a trip to Ontario, that's an extra $1,000 of fuel for his truck.
Transport companies can't pass on all the fuel costs because they refuse to pay it. A lot of companies refuse to pay.
Gas prices are now above $1.60 most places across the country. In Toronto, it's $1.71, about 15 cents more in Montreal, and drivers in Vancouver are now paying well over $2 a litre.
I'm not thrilled, let's put it that way.
For people who drive for work, it's getting expensive.
I have a fleet of vehicles, so the cost of gasoline has put my fleet cost for fuel up probably by a couple of $1,000s over the last 2 months.
The last time gas prices were this high was just 2 years ago. But what's unusual this time is just how quickly the prices climbed. This Edmonton charity that delivers meals to seniors is feeling the pinch. Not just for the cost of fuel, but even getting their garbage picked up is costing more.
It's not just that kind of direct buying the gas at the pump, but all of those other vendors and partners that also are being impacted by those costs that end up trickling down to us as well.
The jump driven by the war in the Middle East, blocking shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. About 20% of the world's oil can't get to market, and now both sides are targeting energy infrastructure.
The risk is that even if we're able to restore the traffic through Hormuz and get those barrels and LNG tankers working again, the damages will be longer lasting.
Gas prices jumped quickly as the war escalated, but if there's a ceasefire or ships start moving again, they should be just as quick to drop. Peter Cowan, CBC News, St. John's.
CBC News is now on the ground in Cuba, an island in crisis due to a 3-month-long oil blockade imposed by the U.S. Fuel is scarce. People are struggling to afford food, and now the UN is warning of a humanitarian crisis. Jorge Barrera is in Havana tonight.
This 1948 Buick, one of the hottest rides in Havana. Groups of tourists used to line up to wait for rides in these cars, says taxi driver Alfredo Hernandez. Now tourism has almost totally collapsed, he says. Popular tourist haunts, like the Havana seawall, mostly empty. The results of U.S. President Donald Trump's now nearly 3-month-long oil embargo. The U.S. president has even mused about taking over the island this week, promising to do something soon. The U.S. is trying to choke the Cuban economy to death, he says. Gasoline in short supply, now $10 U.S. a liter on the black market. Rising energy costs forcing cutbacks in services, like garbage pickup, while driving food prices sky high.
La cebolla ha aumentado mucho.
Migdalia Padron says vegetables have gone up in price. She sells meals to vendors at the San Rafael market. She gets just 2 hours of power a day to make them.
Difícil. Estamos ahí.
It's tough. We're just holding on. While Alexander Rondon says some people in Cuba want Trump to come and change everything. But he says it's better if Cuba solves its own problems. Most of us have never lived through a war, he says. War is death, like in the Middle East, he says.
The United States is acting like a rogue state, abusing of its power.
The Cuban government has been isolated by Trump. The U.S. Treasury Department moved Thursday to block a Russian oil tanker delivery.
We are denouncing it in every corner of the world that we can.
Now Vice Minister Fernandez Cosio is appealing to Canada for help.
Canada is a friendly country. Many Canadians visit Cuba and have done so for years. It's a country with which we have built very important links. And we would like to trade with Canada more freely and without the interference of the U.S. government.
Here in Cuba, the government is trying to control the public image. CBC News obtained a recent directive to local media urging positive stories about daily life to fight, quote, counter-revolutionary campaigns to promote subversive activities.
But, Jorge, there have been protests against the Cuban government.
Yes, people have gone out at night banging pots, cacerolas. People have also protested against water shortages, but many people say the need just to get through the day far outweighs any desire to protest the government.
Okay, thanks for this, Jorge. That's Jorge Barrera reporting in Havana, Cuba tonight. Thousands of people on Hawaii's Oahu Island have been ordered out of their homes tonight as officials warn of dangerous flash flooding with a local dam at risk of collapsing. Muddy water flooded streets on the North Shore early this morning. Power has been cut off in some areas in an effort to prevent electrical hazards. The state's National Guard has been deployed to help with evacuations and community shelters. Ontario is cracking down on ticket scalpers, capping resale prices for live events at face value. As Thomas Dagla tells us, the province's proposal comes ahead of Canada's first FIFA World Cup games in Toronto this summer.
For fans in Ontario priced out of the biggest live events, the province is pledging relief. From concerts
and he's hit it high and deep
to sports, the government is moving to cap the cost of resale tickets.
I'd like some Leafs tickets, actually. So if they're having to be resold at the original price, maybe I'll get to go to a game.
The average fan just can't go.
In its budget next week, the Progressive Conservative government says it will ban the reselling of tickets above the original cost. the strictest such rules in Canada, just as Toronto gets set to host FIFA World Cup games this summer. For one Team Canada match, we found resale tickets on StubHub going for $125,000 and none under $2,000.
And what we've done is we've leveled the playing field and said no more price gouging, everybody gets access.
It's a reversal for the government of Doug Ford, which in 2019 scrapped a law capping resale prices at 50%, but then blasted Ticketmaster during the Blue Jays playoff run last fall.
When you have one player in the market that controls the tickets, that's not right.
Just ask Taylor Swift superfan Danny Alexandria, who paid nearly 4 times face value for the Eras Tour in Toronto with her service dog Evie.
There's a limited amount of accessible seats, so resellers will actually go and buy up those seats and then jack up the price, knowing that us as disabled people don't have any other option.
But price caps abroad haven't worked as planned, says this industry watcher.
The activity doesn't disappear. It just moved underground, and that means less protection for the average fan.
The parent company of Ticketmaster says it supports the proposal, though its competitor StubHub insists capping resale prices will push more fans toward unregulated platforms and scams. Thomas Dagg, CBC News, Toronto.
Hollywood actor and martial arts star Chuck Norris has died. The American rose to fame with a string of action movies and later became a pop culture phenomenon. As Magda Gabrisalasa shows us, while beloved by millions, his legacy is complicated.
On screen, he battled Bruce Lee, beat bad guys in Texas, became internet famous, and got backlash for some of his views. Born Carlos Ray Norris, but known as Chuck, he parlayed his martial arts moves into a lifetime in the spotlight. In the 60s, Norris mastered martial arts and made his movie debut in The Wrecking Crew. His big break came in The Way of the Dragon, starring Bruce Lee. And he was a TV star on Walker, Texas Ranger.
The resident badass of film and TV and no nonsense.
Our final judge.
Comedy got his thumbs up in this cameo in the 2004 movie Dodgeball. And he piqued the interest of younger generations, inspiring viral social media posts, poking fun at his legendary strength. Norris was a vocal supporter of conservative causes, expressing homophobic views, and when Barack Obama sought re-election, Norris and his wife warned of 1,000 years of darkness.
He very much was ready to sort of embrace these hateful ways as soon as they became sort of, popular. He was a complicated person, like we all are.
In his later years, Norris kept active. He posted this video on social media 10 days ago.
I don't age, I level up.
But on Thursday, things took a turn. The 86-year-old was hospitalized in Hawaii, dying the same day. His loved ones said in a statement he was surrounded by family at the time and was at peace. The news shocking fans at Toronto's Comic-Con.
I grew up watching a lot of sort of martial arts movies with my dad, and Chuck Norris was one of his favorites. Heartbroken to hear about that.
Those that worked with Norris are reeling from the news, too.
He's such a big inspiration and a mentor. Incredible man.
Get me the president.
Fans might still see the star in one last movie. His final film, Zombie Plane, has yet to be released. Magda Gabrisalasa, CBC News, Toronto.
For the first time in more than 4 decades, Vancouver has had a snowless winter.
I'm a big advocate for slush skiing. Sometimes we need to reassess our expectations.
What it could mean for the months ahead, next. Plus, Canadians mark the end of Ramadan and the Persian New Year as war still rages in the Middle East.
We're very sad that this is happening, and we're very sad for the souls that are lost.
How the conflict is weighing on the celebrations. And later, facing a U.S. oil blockade, a Cuban man finds a creative workaround. How he modified his car to run on charcoal? We're back in 2. Welcome to spring. In the nation's capital, Ottawa kicked off the new season Friday morning with a fresh dumping of snow. Parts of the region getting as much as 10 centimeters, making a mess of roads and sidewalks. But for kids on the last day of March break, it was one more chance for some wintry fun. Seems like that not a thing in Vancouver this year. For the first time in 43 years, the city recorded a snowless winter. But as Caroline Bargood explains, the lack of snowfall could have serious repercussions this summer.
While parts of the country have been hammered with snow this winter, Vancouver has had none. It's the first time that's happened in 43 years, according to Environment Canada. This winter, on 3 occasions, there have been a few flurries, but not enough accumulation to measure snowfall. On Grouse Mountain, skiers are trying to make the most of it.
I'm a big advocate for slush skiing. Sometimes we need to reassess our expectations and have fun with what we got.
This winter has seen a lot of rain. Environment Canada says it's been relatively normal in that regard, but the lack of snowfall could have repercussions this summer.
Vancouver has 3 reservoirs that heavily depend on a slow snowmelt to keep them full. They hold the city's drinking water.
Unless we see some more snowfall and start building up those snowpacks in late March and early April on the North Shore Mountains, there's going to be concerns.
A drier winter will be a problem for farmers and could pose a greater risk of wildfires. That's not all.
There's an enormous ecosystem out there that is also dependent on water. And as that ecosystem dries out, fishes and all sorts of other things that live in freshwaters and around freshwaters are really compromised as well.
No snow and warmer temperatures also mean some black bears have woken up early from hibernation.
The snow can insulate them from water, and if they get water running through their den, I've seen dens like that. When they do melt, it's pretty uncomfortable in there. I would guess that they'd be saying, geez, I should have picked a better den this year, and then have to get up because they don't want to be sitting in a puddle.
He says while the lack of snow is rare, it's not unheard of, and the bears have learned to adapt. Caroline Bargood, CBC News, Vancouver.
With no easy end in sight to the war in the Middle East, many are wondering whether the U.S. understood what it was getting into.
The regime had been expecting this kind of attack to come, and it is built to survive.
Terence McKenna on how some say the U.S. underestimated Iran. Plus, butterflies begin their long journey from Mexico to Canada.
This is the first time when we are going to see how the monarchs move precisely during the spring migration.
How scientists hope to solve the monarch mystery. The National breaks down the stories shaping our world. Next. After a slow 11-hour trek, NASA's Artemis II rocket has made its way back to the launch pad in Florida, ready once again to try to carry 4 astronauts, including a Canadian, around the moon. Earlier launch dates were scrubbed because of a problem with helium flow in the rocket. The next launch window opens April 1st. For many in this country, this is a day to celebrate. It's the end of Ramadan and the Persian New Year. But as John Hernandez shows us, the war gripping the Middle East is casting a shadow over it all.
At a St. John's Mosque, prayers to mark Eid al-Fitr, the end of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan and 30 days of fasting. But for many across Canada, the joy of this day is mixed with worry.
Not everyone is able to celebrate this really happily because of the fights back home.
In Vancouver, thousands filled the convention center, reflecting on the war in the Middle East that at times feels too close to home.
We're very sad that this is happening, and we're very sad for the souls that are lost.
Mo Sharnaby fears for the safety of his friends in Dubai. The UAE has been a major target of Iran.
We call them every few days, asked about them, like what's going on, everything's fine. And
this prayer happening on the same day as the Persian New Year, or Nowruz, a rare overlap of 2 holidays centered upon gathering and shared meals.
Unfortunately, this is a confusing time for us. We don't know. We can celebrate it. We should be happy. We should be unhappy because our family in Iran is a bad situation.
The owner of this Iranian restaurant in North Vancouver spending this holiday thinking about his mom and extended family back home.
We disconnect with them because the main method of connection is with internet, and unfortunately these days Iranian don't have the internet.
A war that looms heavy over these celebrations, with many taking the time to pray for peace. John Hernandez, CBC News, Vancouver.
Now it's time to dig deeper into the stories shaping our world. After wintering in Mexico, monarch butterflies are flying north back to Canada, and scientists are trying to map that path.
Precisely during the spring migration.
We'll look at the tools used to tag them and track their flight. But first,
we've decimated their whole evil empire.
3 weeks into the war in the Middle East, off-ramps appear to be dwindling.
The Iranian regime believes that it can outlast the Americans and the Israelis.
We'll break down what could shape an endgame and what victory might look like for either side. Terence McKenna explores if the U.S. may have underestimated Iran's resolve and its likely miscalculations on the road to war.
When you ask diplomats and military experts how this war is going to end, many will take you back to the situation that existed before the war started and how the two sides seriously misunderstood each other. Consider Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei, who led Iran for 37 years. One of the few Americans who met him face to face is former U.S. Ambassador to Lebanon Jeffrey Feltman, who was serving in 2012 as a United Nations official.
It was a surreal experience being in that room with the Supreme Leader. A couple of things struck me. One was, this guy's got no charisma. His delivery was flat, banal. I understood that he was completely animated by anti-American animosity, and that came out in spades. We understood that anti-American animosity. He didn't understand us. For example, he cited the Occupy Wall Street movement, which had ended 8 months earlier, an eternity in U.S. politics, as evidence that the U.S. was on the verge of collapse.
However mistaken was Khamenei's assessment of the United States, there were also serious miscalculations about this war on the American side. During the pre-war talks between the Iranians and U.S. negotiators Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, Witkoff spoke about Trump in an exclusive Fox News interview.
He's curious as to why they haven't, I don't want to use the word capitulated, but why they haven't capitulated.
That was an underestimation of the regime's will to fight, according to Iranian-Canadian Nazila Fathi, who served for 8 years as the New York Times correspondent in Tehran.
We're talking about a country that has hundreds of years of civilization. Its people are very proud. It has gone through a lot of invasions, a lot of wars, but still it would not react positively to terms such as surrender, capitulation.
Ayatollah Khamenei is dead. This wretched and vile man had the blood of hundreds and even thousands of Americans on his hands.
Donald Trump seemed thrilled when Khamenei was killed on the first day of the war, but overestimated the effect that would have on the Iranian side, according to retired U.S. General Steve Anderson, who served in senior roles in Iraq and Afghanistan.
I just think of how I would react, in the United States if our president was taken out. Would I'm going to succumb. Yeah, all right, come on here, do what you want to do. No, that's going to strengthen my resolve. And they're going to be the same way. You kill my leadership, that's going to make me fight even harder.
Former Iranian Ambassador Sayed Mousavian served years ago in senior positions in the Iranian government and is now in exile at Princeton University. He says Ayatollah Khamenei expected to be assassinated.
I think he expected because in June 2025, about 30, 40 very high-level officials, they were assassinated. Every Iranian high-level officials, they assume they may be assassinated. This is something they all know and they are prepared.
This dictatorship, this regime, was built on institutions. that Ali Khamenei had 37 years in order to build a bench, a deep bench of loyalists, ideological hardliners who can carry on without the supreme leader.
The regime had been expecting this kind of attack to come, and it is built to survive.
On the first day of the war, Donald Trump called on the Iranian people to rise up against the regime.
When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take.
Trump was obviously thinking of the massive anti-regime demonstrations that occurred in January. Demonstrations that were viciously put down by the Republican Guard and pro-regime militias, who killed an estimated 30,000 protesters.
The Iranian regime, they realize that if the people rise up against them, their days are numbered. So they are fighting for their lives. They know that if there is some kind of a revolution that occurs internally, they're the first ones going to be on the chopping block. They're willing for their own people to suffer as long as they can remain in power.
I think it shows that the Iranian regime is willing to go to any kind of extreme length to stay in power and get rid of opposition at home.
People are going to keep their heads down right now. People are not going to come out and grab and try to grab the government in the way that Donald Trump suggested they should.
Perhaps Donald Trump's greatest miscalculation concerned the Iranian ability to shut down the Strait of Hormuz, through which 20% of the world's oil passes, normally about 60 oil tankers a day. The U.S. side bragged about sinking Iranian Navy ships and the small boats that could lay mines in the strait.
The president made a big deal the other day about sinking 16 mine-laying sea craft, to which I said, okay, 16 down, 1,000 to go. Because they've got, 1,000 miles of coastline. They got all kinds of places they can hide these things. Think about the USS Cole back in 2000. That was in Yemen. You had some radicals use a speedboat loaded with munitions, a suicide speedboat that damn near sunk an American, destroyer.
Iranian TV propaganda features speedboats that can attack oil tankers in the Persian Gulf.
Iran has been very good at scattering its military capabilities around the country, and they are capable of dragging it out for much longer than it was expected by the Trump administration.
The Trump administration promised that the U.S. Navy would soon be accompanying tankers through the Strait of Hormuz, but so far no American Navy ship has even entered the strait by themselves.
I mean, think of the political fallout from the sinking of an American destroyer, in the Strait of Hormuz by the Iranians. Think of the world political fallout. I mean, it would be unbelievable.
The Iranians have bragged about the huge supply of explosive drones they have hidden away underground, safe from American and Israeli bombing. Just one of those drones hitting a liquefied natural gas tanker would create a massive explosion that would incinerate everything within a 1-mile radius.
I think Iran has capability to disrupt shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, no doubt about it, with mines, missiles, drones, with but it could be temporarily, not for long term.
I guess the point is that it also hurts Iran to do that.
Of course, no doubt about it.
We've decimated their whole evil empire.
American propaganda shows bombs hitting missile launchers all over Iran, and the U.S. claims to have destroyed around 90% of Iran's ballistic missiles, but those are the ones above ground. Iran still seems to have a large supply of ballistic missiles and launchers hidden in underground bunkers, which is how they keep hitting Israel and other targets around the Gulf.
The Iranian regime believes that it can outlast the Americans and the Israelis. I think they want as many countries and people to be going to Trump and saying, stop this, and that they can outlast us because they can put up with the pain longer than we can.
The Trump administration has continually revised their stated objectives in this war, but Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth recently emphasized a permanent end to the Iranian nuclear program.
Permanently deny Iran nuclear weapons forever.
Iran's nuclear ambitions had been controlled by the nuclear agreement that Donald Trump ripped up in 2018.
This was a horrible, one-sided deal that should have never, ever been made.
But the reason we are here today at a point where we have a full-blown military crisis, not just in the region, but one that has a threatened global economy, is because that agreement was torn apart.
Sayed Mousavian thinks both the U.S. and Iran will have no choice but to return to nuclear negotiations.
I really do not see any other alternative. Endless war is not solution.
As the endgame approaches, bombs will keep falling in Iran until Donald Trump decides that the political cost and the cost to the American Treasury and the world economy has become too great.
I have no doubt in my mind that in an hour or a day or a week or a month, President Trump is going to make some great proclamation and claim total and complete victory. But, I remember, Henry Kissinger, and he said, America loses if we don't win, and Vietnam wins if they don't lose. And that is exactly what played out in Vietnam, and it's happening all over again.
If Washington stops the bombing after declaring victory, Iran probably accept the pause and will present the outcome as its own success, which is good. I mean, both parties should be able to have a face-saving declaration for their own domestic situation.
The 31st U.S. Marine Expeditionary Force is now on the way to the Persian Gulf. What happens if Donald Trump decides to extend and expand the war by sending ground troops into the battle?
The Iranian regime is fighting for its survival. It has nowhere to go, and it will fight to the end.
As the Iranians and Israelis have started bombing oil fields, and Trump is threatening further escalation, the question is how many lives will be lost and how much economic and environmental damage will be done before both sides agree to stop.
Global oil prices remain above $100 a barrel again today after Iran's retaliation to attacks on its energy facilities and the effective closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Coming up, unlocking the mystery around monarch butterflies' migration from Mexico back to Canada.
Literally, they're flying over roads and people are driving down the road and it's giving us a location.
New tools to track the monarch's journey north, next. Monarch butterflies are best known for their distinct colors and patterns. Now, scientists are using tiny trackers to map their migratory pathway from Canada to Mexico and back. Jorge Barrera traveled to one of the world's largest butterfly sanctuaries in Mexico to learn more about how scientists are tracking an incredible journey north.
Dreamland on El Rosario Mountain. In the Mexican state of Michoacan, the vast majority of the monarch population east of the Rocky Mountains winters here. This butterfly, a protected species.
This forest is the forest of Oyamel. All that you see here is Oyamel, all these trees.
Adriana Avelina Ruiz Marquez works for the Monarch Butterfly Biosphere Reserve. She says the monarchs seek the soft bristles of the Oyamel tree for protection, and they form large colonies on the branches.
The branch of this tree let them have protection, thermal protection for the snow, for the hail, for the rain. No?
Mystery still shrouds the monarch's epic migratory journey from Canada to Mexico and back, the second longest of any insect. Scientists believe monarchs have an inner compass that follows the sun and ultraviolet light to guide their way. But how they return again and again to this same spot It's all just theory right now.
So nobody teach them how to arrive here. Nobody show them the journey. So they just know where to arrive here, where to arrive, and they arrive always in the same forest.
Now scientists have a new high-tech tool they hope will unlock the monarch's secrets.
This is the first time when we are going to see how the monarchs, some of them, move precisely during the spring migration.
Eduardo Rendon Salinas is with the World Wildlife Fund in Mexico. He and Ruiz Marquez show us how they tag monarchs with a new high-tech transmitter, powered by a solar panel the size of a grain of rice. They attach it to the butterfly with fake eyelash glue. The team has already tagged 160 monarchs across 6 butterfly sanctuaries. These transmitters send a signal
Start scan
that can use any iPhone with Bluetooth turned on as a receiver to crowdsource the butterfly's path so it can be tracked with an app.
Literally, they're flying over roads and people are driving down the road and it's giving us a location. So
David LaPuma is the vice president for New Jersey-based Cellular Tracking Technologies, which developed this device. Used continent-wide for the first time last fall, it will soon be able to provide a flood of key data.
I think we will have a transmitter that can go on a monarch that can carry a pressure sensor, talk about altitude of flight, all sorts of really cool, other data which will tell us more about the nuance of how these butterflies are behaving.
Carmen Gonzalez says the strength of the butterflies amazes her. A short walk can leave her tired, but these creatures fly here all the way from Canada. She is a member of the El Rosario Ejido, which holds the land of the butterfly sanctuary and runs a popular tourism operation while the monarchs overwinter here. Thanks to this work, I can bring something to eat to my children, my family. The community also grows and plants oyamel trees to keep the forest healthy. But the monarchs are also facing a bigger threat: climate change. Their numbers have declined in past years, but appear to be rebounding slightly.
But I see more than the last year. I'm pretty sure that are more. I am optimistic of that.
She says they are still waiting for an official count.
When I arrive to my home, sometimes I close my eyes and I see the flight, the wings, and it's beautiful.
So the work continues to ensure this dream never ends.
And scientists believe swarms of monarch butterflies are about to begin their flight back north, a journey that might be up to 5,000 kilometers. They're likely to start arriving here in late May. Coming up, facing fuel shortages, a mechanic in Cuba finds a creative alternative to gas.
I mean, from my point of view, I don't see it as complicated.
How he converted his car to run off charcoal in our moment. This is Juan Carlos Pino, a mechanic in Aguacata, Cuba. He is driving his 1980 Polish-built Fiat Polski, and he's converted the car to run off charcoal instead of gasoline. Using charcoal is a cheaper way of running his vehicle after the Trump administration cut off oil shipments to Cuba back in January. So tonight, his mechanical makeover makes our moment.
I'm a mechanic, and as far as I understand, it doesn't have to damage the engine immediately or anything like that. I learned about it from my uncle, who was a mechanic and taught me the basics of that technique, gas generators, back during the war and all that, and it always caught my attention. I think that in a time of crisis like this, one has to focus because it's the closest option we have, and we need it. We need mobility. I mean, from my point of view, I don't see it as complicated. I've had it running continuously from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. without turning it off, and driven 85 kilometers. Personally, I prefer gasoline because, well, it's more convenient, it's technology, it makes sense. But it's gonna be hard for me to remove the charcoal tank because it's like my own baby.
Juan says he has been thinking of doing this for quite a few years and figured the time was right. With the U.S. rationing gasoline, the price of gas is now about $40 Canadian a gallon, 6 times more than it usually is. From all of us at The National, thank you for being with us. I'm Erica Johnson in Vancouver. Take care.